Today we're going to talk about metes and bounds. What are they, and how can we use them? Metes and bounds are a method used to describe land and boundaries in legal documents, such as deeds or property surveys. This system relies on physical landmarks and directions to define edges of a piece of land. And a simple breakdown is metes refers to the measurements of a distance, usually in feet, yards, or chains. Bounds refers to a boundary line, often defined by physical features like roads, rivers, or trees. The description starts at a specific point, called the point of beginning, and follows the property's perimeter using directions and distances until it returns to the point of beginning. Compass directions like north, south, east, and west, or angles are often used, and an example might be something like starting at the oak tree in the northwest corner, then go 300 feet east and turn south for 200 feet to the river, and then follow the river for 300 feet, and finally return north 200 feet to the point of the beginning. Okay? This is metes and bounds, and it's still used today, especially in areas where land parcels aren't neatly divided into grid systems. So, how can we use it? Let's talk about living men and women and corporations. A corporation is a legal fiction, an entity created under statutory law which exists only on paper and law, not in reality as a living being. Of course, we know that pieces of paper aren't real. They're not walking around, right? On the other hand, living men or women exist in the real physical world with natural connection to the land and physical body. This difference is fundamental because laws governing corporations and natural rights are not the same. So, no physical presence means no metes and bounds. Metes and bounds as a system applies to physical land and tangible property, defining the perimeter of a plot of land with measurements, natural landmarks, or physical markers. We just described that, right? Now, a corporation has no physical body or real presence within the system and cannot stand on the land, occupy space, the same way that a living man or woman does. So in that same sense, they can't assert residency upon a living man or woman either. But it can assert residency of an ens legis, a corporation, an all-capitalized name, right? Now, jurisdiction without consent would look like a corporation asserting jurisdiction over living men and women without their explicit consent or contractual agreement. In other words, a corporation only has jurisdiction through the consent or contractual agreement of the living man or woman. Without such an agreement, a corporation has no lawful authority to claim residency or exert control over a living being. In essence, a corporation's boundaries are statutory and legal, not physical and natural, which means they do not apply automatically to a living man or woman unless voluntarily accepted. Essentially, a corporation doing business as a city or state lacks metes and bounds to assert residency over any living man or woman because it's the non-physical legal fiction with no real presence or natural right to claim residency, and it operates within abstract statutory jurisdiction, which applies only with consent or contractual agreement. And living men and women who occupy real measurable land exist in the natural realm and are not automatically subject to the jurisdiction of a corporation entity unless they voluntarily accept that status. And so we are able to rebut this and correct things using declarations. A distinction between corporate and natural world is critical in asserting one's natural rights and rejecting claims of jurisdiction by corporate entities masquerading as governments or cities. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope this was informative and entertaining. You know you can join my school community for absolutely free, where we are going to continue with all of this. I'm going to hire some virtual assistants to help me develop that because I can't do this but one day a week. But it is incredibly important, especially as I leverage content from a previous video, Article 3, as an ambassador, Article 3 of the Constitution, United States Constitution, as an ambassador of heaven. I'm an ambassador of heaven, I'm a minister of Christ. I am going to approach the Supreme Court directly to address some of the things that are essentially making our country, our nation, we're going to address the inversions that have been taking place. If you'd like to help me with that project or just want to join in the fun and observe, you can be as active as you'd like to be. It's a free community. I'm going to develop it. Maybe you want to help me develop it. Maybe you want to help me with the court stuff. All right. Either way, I hope you have a wonderful day, and may the Most High's upliftings be upon us all. Have a great day.